reasons
One of the biggest man-made pits in the world.
the Chinese want this piece of Bougainville,
China is now taking control of the South Pacific.
and why Australia is the big loser.
Australia is making enemy out of Bougainville.
That's next on 60 Minutes. On our tour of the Pacific, we'd find conclusive proof of China's long-term planning for our region. We're in Bougainville, still part of Papua New Guinea, but not for long. Next week, it votes in a referendum on its independence.
Bougainville was one of the forgotten campaigns of World War II, but 516 Australians died here during the war.
516. Put that in context for me.
Well, that's comparable to Vietnam.
But veteran journalist Ben Bohane covered a far bloodier conflict here. The Bougainville Civil War, where a rebel army fought New Guinea for independence and control of the fabulously wealthy Panguna gold mine. Over 10,000 people died between 1988 and 1998.
Given the small population here, safe to say virtually every single family would have been affected one way or the other.
In small places like this, every family was touched by the war.
One of the commanders of the Bougainville rebel army was General Sam Kauna.
Politicians, they make war and we fight the war.
Now, Ben Bohane and I are headed to meet the general at his headquarters in the south of Bougainville's main island. It's hard to imagine fighting a war in this terrain. Harder still to imagine the infrastructure required to bring this place into the 21st century once it achieves independence. But if it does, General Kauna is one of the leading contenders to become its first president, supported by his formidable wife, Josie.
General, how confident are you that Bougainville will become independent?
I am sure. I've seen it. I've gone around the island, north to south, seen and heard people expressing their feelings, their views.
You've been campaigning relentlessly, haven't you?
Oh yes, to make sure they vote for independence.
But central to any hope Bougainville has of becoming a self-sustaining nation lies deep inland, its golden heart, the mine called Panguna. Ben Bohane and I are being given rare access to this legendary place.
Wow. Have a look at that. That is truly enormous.
One of the biggest man-made pits in the world.
It's estimated Panguna still holds nearly $60 billion worth of gold and copper.
So that's what the war was all about? And the future here too, I guess.
Yeah. This is the mine that triggered the war and may well be key to the future of Bougainville.
It's an eerie place, a frozen moment of the aftermath of war.
So it's in here. So it's in here?
We meet the Panguna rebel commander, Moses Papiro, who shows us the massive safe where the mine's gold was once stored. Now, welded shut, it contains the weapons his men laid down for peace.
How many weapons?
Maybe 200 plus.
But if Bougainville is denied its independence by Papua New Guinea, which has to ratify the referendum vote, Moses has a somber warning.
Moses, is there any way in which those weapons would be used again?
Wait to see. Maybe war is coming again, or we don't know.
In truth, it's unthinkable that war will revisit this devastated place. But restoring it to production seems almost equally impossible.
This mine is set to be the beating heart of the new Bougainville Republic, and the blood pumping through it is destined to be foreign sourced. The big question is, will China win this too?
Bougainville now is starting on a clean slate. We will be looking at all avenues.
What about China?
China inclusive, yes. China is the superpower in the world. We are free. Bougainville is free to be choosing whichever countries that we can have the best deal with.
On the eve of the independence vote, an extraordinary revelation by General Kauna. A detailed plan for the complete infrastructure rebuild of the island. And the plan is Chinese.
The first offer has come from China. It is here with us. We are still waiting for Australian offer, USA offer how they could support Bougainville.
Roads, ports and airport, all to be built by China. But the General is adamant it's only because Australia and the US have offered nothing of the sort. Australia even refused the General a visa, an almost unforgivable insult.
You're saying if Australia is truly genuine, you want an apology and you want us to do more now.
That's why I feel Australia is making an enemy out of Sam. Australia is making enemy out of Bougainville when they give me that treatment.
Observing this with us is Captain Jim Fennell, the former intelligence commander of the US Pacific Fleet, who's been with us on this trip. There's been no previous inkling that China has such a long-term master plan for Bougainville. And as our last stop, it's alarming news for this experienced China watcher.
If Bougainville becomes the world's newest country, that's quite a prize for China, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And it sets up what with the flip at Kiribati and the flip in the Solomons and what they're doing in Vanuatu, what they're doing in Fiji. You start to see a trend line here, which is that China is now taking control of the South Pacific. And so I think that's why you're starting to see some change in the United States, for instance, and even in your own government in Australia, where people are starting to say, if we don't stand up and check China's expansionism, we will be ruled by them in another 25 or 30 years.
Hello, I'm Liam Bartlett. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.